Do you remember the story of the three little pigs? One built his house out of straw, another built his house out of sticks, and the last pig made his house out of brick. If you remember how the story goes, the first two pigs didn't have very sturdy homes, but the third one lasted the longest. A lot of older homes are built out of brick, but there's also an era of homes built out of steel. The homes in this time period are called Lustron homes, which was a steel frame with steel panels and a steel roof, and they're around even still today. Steel houses are slowly making a comeback as we figured out how to make some of the issues Lustron went through back in the late 40s better. We're figuring out the positive environmental impacts these types of homes have. Steel houses have had a major cost issue in the past, but now it seems more financially reliable to create steel homes. If the idea of steel houses interests you, please keep watching and give us a thumbs up. These homes became popular around post-World War II. The Lustron homes were sold around the country with an instructional manual. The houses were made with steel on the outside and steel on the inside. The house had a peak in popularity for about 3 years until 1950, where things started shifting in the housing market. Most Lustron homes are made out of porcelain enamel steel. The panels made out of porcelain enamel steel were meant to replace the designs of Spanish tiles, but since the roofs are also made of the same porcelain enamel material, it kind of blended in. The factories that produced the makings of these houses made the parts come in 4 different colors: maize yellow, surf blue, desert tan, and dove gray. Circling back to the roof, it covered a ceiling-mounted radiant heating system. Like mentioned before, Lustron made instruction manuals for the house and plumbing. The houses came with limited floor plans and by today's standards would be considered small. The majority of these homes came with a singular bathroom. Within the time period of 1948, these houses were being shown off in magazines such as Life magazine. The article was named "The House America Has Been Waiting For." So, was it really the house America needed? Lustron housing can be described as the right place in the right time. After World War II, in 1946, Congress declared housing a national emergency. GIs were coming home with no place to stay, and this was mostly because of the shortages the Great Depression had started and construction restraints that prospered while people were away. In dire need of a solution, the government invented with a post-depression agency, the Reconstruction Finance Corporation. What is the Reconstruction Finance Corporation, you may ask? The purpose of the RFC is to fund depressed sectors of the economy. The RFC has dabbled in funding to other housing projects like concrete homes. These concrete homes were named bubble houses, invented by the famous architect Wallace Neff. Neff created a new way to utilize the concrete. A giant balloon was inflated through an inlet valve and then coated in gunite, a special type of concrete which was shot out of a cement gun at high pressure. The stuff was more than twice as strong as regular concrete. The bubble houses ended up failing because they were overall isolating and dark. But why did the Lustron homes end up failing? Lustron houses are strictly made out of steel. Steel is heavy. Heaviness makes it harder to transport. With transportation of steel being too expensive, it didn't really make it past the Midwest. When only part of the country can benefit from steel homes, it doesn't really seem to be the perfect answer. This also led to a bigger question. Do people even want to live in steel homes? These houses had hard-to-modify floor plans and seemed to have some extra costs. The production of these Lustron homes was interesting, as they made all the pieces. For example, they made their own bathtub. You couldn't buy your own from another source. It most likely would not fit in the custom-made space. These unnecessary costs made it even more unlikable to go with Lustron homes. More traditional homes started to pop into the market and were able to be cheaper than the steel homes. GIs were more apt to go with what they did know and, more importantly, what they could afford. Not all steel homes could make it to every zip code. There were some cities with different laws that would make it impossible to be able to create a steel home. The RFC loans were being racked up by Lustron. They kept relying on more and more money from the Reconstruction Finance Corporation to the point of them reaching $40 million in loans. As the press kept putting more negative coverage on the company, they began to crack. Loans ended up being rescinded, and Lustron had to file for bankruptcy. The company in its 2 years never sold more than 300 houses a month. Some of these houses still exist around the country. Some people live in them or rent them out. The Lustron homes didn't live up to their expectations, which ended up leaving them primarily in the past. Now, you might be curious as to what would be beneficial to owning a steel home, as they still exist in our country. A major element that went into the positives of Lustron homes is the durability steel has. MetalBuildingHouses.com stated, "Metals are strong elements and they can withstand any type of weather. Wooden houses do not stand a chance against this kind of material. Instead, it would cost you more if there were problems in the frames or other parts of the house. Metal houses also have cheap maintenance costs, and it's a perfect investment for the future. In today's age, with the availability of transportation, it's actually way faster to build, almost taking about 2 to 3 weeks. The reason it takes so short is because the frames are made ahead of time. With the more modern structures of steel homes, there's actually more space throughout the floor plan." MetalBuildingHouses.com also said they forego using walls inside of the house, giving the inhabitants a bigger space for them to relax and enjoy. This makes it easier for metal homeowners to constantly redecorate their metal homes when they feel the need of spicing up the house interior. And finally, metal housing is more eco-friendly. As always emphasized on this channel, being able to be environmentally safe is the future of every sector. Environmentally friendly is the equivalent to energy efficiency, which is also the equivalent to saving more money on the long road. A final statement from MetalBuildingHouses.com would be, "Many steel companies are using environmentally friendly products in their insulation, as well as recyclable materials in constructing these houses. Steel houses are built with the best insulating system and other alternative structures to make them cost-effective and sustainable," which is a huge positive in the grand scheme of things. In a world where we're constantly trying to make our cars and other technology environmentally safe, why wouldn't we start at the foundation of our houses? Having the flexibility in using less waste and creating a safer environment for our future is the goal with any project. So if metal houses have this as a main goal, the other issues will get better with time. To wrap up today's video, I'd like to reflect with you on whether you'd like to live in a metal house. Does the idea of having a magnetic wall seem cool or strange to you? Would the past history of the failures deter you? Or would the promise of a more environmentally friendly framework persuade you enough? Lustron has had good intentions with creating the new idea of using steel for frameworks. The idea is being used even today, just not fully steel like the Lustron homes. There are multiple companies like SteelX or Kodiak Steel Homes, which are trying to take the concepts of Lustron and make it a more viable opportunity, using these metal homes to try to make a better tomorrow. Based on the information stated today, I think it's safe to say that maybe if one of the pigs chose to create a steel home, they would have been in better shape. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed learning about the making of steel homes. If you're interested in any of our other videos, please watch our latest, "Can Seawater Save the World's Water Crisis?" Make sure to subscribe.